the state of Kith, a little fashion talk. Now, for some context, I believe we were discussing our various opinions on Kith because of what they did with the Knicks, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe? Yes. So, with that, I have this issue with Kith where I feel like they just spam collaborations, which a lot of brands do. But with them specifically, it's not just the fact they spam collaborations, but they spam projects which literally are t-shirts that take the same graphics, and literally the exact same graphics on a Target t-shirt or a TJ Maxx tee for like a Spider-Man collab or Superman, and then charge $75. And literally it's the same exact picture, whatever collab it is, with the Kith logo on it. And to me, at least as someone who follows the scene, we are not in the logo mania of 2016, 2017 anymore. Supreme isn't what it was. It still has its audience, but even Supreme has shifted on away from the box logo on everything. But Kith, it doesn't seem like they've transitioned in that way. With their mainline clothing, if you take a look at their site, it all just feels old, man. It feels like this weird, like, wannabe old money thing. But then you look at the actual product and it's like, damn, those shorts, okay, bit of an old looking plaid pattern. Why is it $150 and 100% polyester? What? Like that ain't quality, bro. That's scammery. That's robbery. So I got issues with their materials and their pricing and just what I see as laziness of collabs. If you follow, I believe on the subreddit, it's become a whole meme at this point where with every new Kith collaboration, Ronnie Feig, founder, he always puts out a statement like, when I was a kid, I loved Honey Nut Cheerios. It's my honor today to be able to put out a collection that pays homage to Honey Nut Cheerios and what they mean to children across the world. Like, bro, are you kidding me? This is a cereal brand. And he probably would do that for Kleenex if they did a collab with them. Like, I am not kidding. They have done it with cars. They have done it with suitcases. They have done it with everything. And it's just like, bro, no one is passionate about that many different IPs to where they're honored to have a collaboration. So that's my issue. I'd love to hear if you guys have any opinion. I know I'm a bit in the weeds of this sort of thing, so I'm curious what your perspective might be.
Well, I will say for one, have you ever had Kith treats?
I did once.
What were your thoughts?
I mean, it was alright, bro. I don't eat dessert all that much anyways, but that isn't redeeming them.
Would love a Honey Nut Cheerio flavor in their Kith treats menu, but that's not the thing over there. Kith treats is fire, man. It's overpriced, but it tastes pretty good. But listen, I think when it comes to Kith, I can understand what you're saying in the sense that like things can seem very watered down. I also just feel like that's the world that we're living in, man, and I think it's tough, but I still feel like there is appeal to the Kith brand. Like, I think they have a certain aesthetic that, yes, I like what you said about old money. It does kind of give that vibe. Isn't really super, like, there are elements of streetwear in it, but it's not, I think it does lean over onto the old money side. But I think all things considered, it's not, like you said, it's not the mid-2010s anymore. A Kith logo is not gonna stand out the same way a Supreme logo no longer stands out, the way a Bape logo no longer stands out. And I think that's okay. I still think, I also just feel like in general, we're not living in an era where it's like, whoa, like you have that on, like you have that article of clothing, or dang, you were able to get your hands on those sneakers. I just feel like those days are a little bit behind us. And it's crazy to even say that, because I think we all grew up in that era where like we coveted, I don't think I ever coveted like specific like clothing articles, but definitely coveted a lot of sneakers. And so the actual name behind an article no longer carries the same weight that it used to. Now, in terms of the various collabs that they do, I can definitely understand why that can be a little bit off-putting. And I think I'm not gonna act like I'm the biggest Kith like advocate, but I will say I'm a fan of the aesthetic. I do love going into their flagship store. They just opened up a new one, or reopened their flagship store in New York City. And I don't know, it's like a nice little stroll in the Soho area. I just love being in Soho in general, so that's just me, and maybe I stand alone on that. But I think the aesthetic to me, while maybe you can say that they have quote unquote sold out, I think you could still make the case that it's still something that looks good. And I think at the end of the day, that's really where I value things. The high price point, 100%, I agree with you on that. But like, I will say, for anyone out there who may, this is a sports podcast, so I'll throw out the Knicks collabs. Look at the pieces that they drop, and I would say, like, I at least feel like maybe, I've never owned a piece, so can't really speak to the quality, but I will say just for the visual, for the appearance, I think it's a good look. And I think when you have a team like the New York Knicks that is currently booming in relevancy, you're going to want something like a big name brand attached to it. I think that's just how it works. And I think Kith, with that collaboration, the fact that Ronnie Feig is now the creative director of the New York Knicks, he designs their City Edition jersey. Like, I think that's what makes me align with them a little bit more. It's like they have that bit of like New York representation, and I don't know, it's hard. I will say this, as a Knicks fan, it's hard to make Knicks colors look good, and I think they did a great job doing that. And I think along with their other pieces, I think the aesthetic is something that I am personally a fan of.
Yeah. And you know what? That's totally fair, and I definitely understand the maybe more New York angle of like, oh, this is a brand from New York. They got close ties with the Knicks. They have for a long time. I can understand that specifically, but even with the aesthetic, right? Like, what they do aesthetically isn't anything new. They don't bring anything really new to the game, to the style game. They just take what's already out there, what's already trending, what's already on TikTok, and then like slap their logo on it, maybe a floral pattern or two, get Giancarlo Esposito to wear it for a campaign, and then that's it. Like, bro, I'm looking right now at another pair of shorts, 100% polyester, $255. And they did a whole collab with Adidas, right? They've done it in the past. They had a pair of Ultra Boosts, I remember. Ultra Boost mids from maybe 2017 that were kind of based on like a knit sweater from like skiing, and those were so fire. I thought they were the cleanest shoes at the time. Now they're dropping fake jerseys, bro, with the DHL logo on it, with the ESPN logo on it. Like, what are we doing? Why would I rock a fake jersey? So, I take issue with that. I mean, I know that, side note, soccer jerseys have kind of been a trend with the whole bloat core thing, but just get a real jersey or a jersey collab like with an actual team. Like, not some brand's take on a jersey with, a Disney-owned company or with a shipping service. Like, why would I want to represent DHL, bro?
I'm glad you brought that up, because as someone who's not like super tapped into Kith or what they've been doing recently, although I will say they were kind of unavoidable when we were maybe late high school, so I guess we're pushing 10 years ago now, so maybe that speaks a lot to their relevancy in general. But like those kits you just brought up, I went to go research for this episode just what they're doing recently, the Adidas 2025 spring collab. I'm looking at these kits and I'm like, actually, I don't mind these. Like, these look okay. Then I'm like zooming in. I'm like, why in the hell would I drop 150, 175, whatever, on this jersey for the Kith badge, some other foo-foo badge, and then, like you said, some random sponsor, when I can drop that same amount for a retro kit of an actual team that I care care about, or an actual player I want to see on the back of my jersey. It just doesn't make sense. The pricing, like obviously it makes sense for them because they're a kid. They're gonna drop whatever price they want, and people are gonna buy it. But or maybe not, depending on how relevant they are now. But I don't see if that's the market you're going for, especially with a collab like that. I don't understand why they think that would be more appealing to the people who would want a jersey than an actual jersey from that time. Because those are about the same prices. If you want to get like an authentic retro jersey, it's about the same. Like, and those aren't cheap either, but at least you're actually getting, like, I can get Thierry Henry on my back for that price rather than Kith, whatever, Fufu, FIFA creator. Like when we play clubs and you do create a kit, it's literally that level of like literally design, bro. It's like that level. So not even to dunk on that specifically, but I don't know. Maybe they're aiming, like they want to dabble in like these things that they know are popular. Like you said, the bloat core is like a relevant thing, and they want to dabble in that. Okay, we see that's popular. We're gonna hop on that, slap a Kith on it, and maybe they're hoping to get the people who aren't actually into soccer, or just want to get that kind of look. And I feel like those are the only type of people that might want to grab something like that over an actual soccer kit. Maybe they're looking for that more casual kind of
I hate that that's what you're trying to appeal to, bro. Like you have a collab with Adidas, and like you could actually probably get a real jersey with a real team, like even if it's MLS, bro. Even if it's MLS or something, like you could do that. That would be cooler. Like NYCFC, like I don't even like them at all, but hey, they're in New York. You could do a jersey with them. It makes sense since you're already doing jerseys with the Knicks, and you know it just bothers me. And I'm just scrolling again through their Adidas collab, and it's like, bro, like this knitwear tracksuit, like, bro, you see that top? Like, who is wearing that? Pants, whatever, but that top, bro, that looks like, you know, Squid Game went to the retirement home. Like, it is just, it's weird. So I for one, I just want to, maybe not just Kith in general, but I think more just of those high street brands. I just want to see them do better, bro. And Kith is always the one I'm disappointed by the most. Right after that is Aimé Leon Dore, ALD. The prices for what these companies are putting out and the quality of them is consistently awful, consistently terrible. So, as a fan of just fashion and following the scene, you know, that's just my humble opinion.
I think that's fair, and I think it's especially fair because you're so invested. Because as someone who's not, then you really see, like, at least you're even there checking it out when it comes out. Even subconsciously, that's you giving it a chance because you want to, like, you're hoping that something that you're invested in is going to provide the quality, or at least repay you for that investment. But for me, seeing like Kith however many years ago, seeing like the Kith Asics however many years ago, and I like Asics as a brand as well, even back then. And I was like, oh, Kith Asics, that actually got me intrigued. That's for someone who's not invested. I was like, okay, this is actually something I could see myself potentially buying.
The footwear they don't miss. The footwear, I think, for the most part, they don't. But on the flip side, it ain't that hard to come up with some cool colorways, bro. When you're given the model of a shoe, like,
that's already good,
and you're told, hey man, pick the colors, pick the material, like, it's like create a club, bro, FIFA, whatever. Like, you know what colors are gonna work and they're gonna look nice. So I'll give some credit for the footwear, but that doesn't save them.
It doesn't save them, and I think especially it doesn't save them because now when you're getting to stuff that's not the footwear and these like other collabs, at least the footwear is coming into my orbit slightly because of the quality. These other things I'm not even hearing about, period. And that's scary for a brand that is meant to be name value led. Like, not everyone's gonna say, okay, the Kith is the best quality. Maybe it was back in the day, but like you're just mentioning all the polyester for this however many price, but people will like the Kith name, the Kith look, the name value of the Kith brand. But now that's not even carrying you to where like I'm not even hearing about it, because you want people who aren't even as invested to at least get some kind of like trickle down. Oh, I hear about the Kith. get you at least a little curious about it. And if that's not even happening, that's showing how your brand is declining, because now you're really depending on the core. You're not, and then for the core, you have to have the quality. For the others, you can maybe just have the name value. But for the core, you need the quality. So now you're getting back to someone like Alexi, who's in the core, and you're disappointing him with the quality. Now you're failing on both fronts. So then where do you go? Who do you turn to? So I think it's really interesting to see where or how they bounce back in the coming years. I think generally streetwear and these big brands, even like the sneaker market, I know people are saying it's about to come back, whatever, but I think a lot of these brands really have to consider this, because I think with all these smaller, like upstart, just people on like TikTok, for example, are coming up with their own stuff, I think there's a real chance people really invest in these smaller creators or smaller brands, and these big brands are, they might start knocking on your door. That's all I'm gonna say. You might have to look over your shoulder. I know someone who might be starting a clothing brand soon.
Man.
Maybe. Maybe. So just watch over your shoulder.
Watch out. But for real, I think you bring up some really great points, like especially on like, people who maybe necessarily don't follow this all the time, and it actually made me think, like, even just going on TikTok, bro. I get fashion TikTok, like all those videos. Not once, literally, not once in the past 6 months, I'm willing to say, at the very least, have I seen a single video where someone's trying to flex Kith, trying to show off Kith and fit, trying to talk about it. Nothing. The only time I've seen talk about Kith is about, like, oh, they announced a collaboration. And like, not even real hype behind it, but being like, yeah, they got a Superman collab. That's cool. Like, no one's actually wearing this stuff. No one's like hyping it up in that way. And if you don't got the TikTok kids, the people out there actually like, showing off all these brands all the time, which are growing and continuing to gain influence, like, that's a major fumble. So they got to course correct. But
do any of you guys own any like Kith articles?
I do, from like back in the day, for sure. The last Kith I got was when they did a collab with Star Wars, because
makes sense.
I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I was like, yo, my favorite, IP getting some recognition. And at the time that I got a really cool sweater with like Darth Vader on it. It's like a scene from the movie, but just all over the quarter zip. And like, it's cool, but at the same time, I'm willing to also say, like, it's not that original. They just put like a screenshot of the movie all over a quarter zip. So like, design wise, it's nothing crazy, but I accept that my nostalgia played a part in that purchase.
That's why they do collabs. That's probably what they're going for. Just to drag out a little bit of nostalgia in each. I guess that's why he writes these handwritten notes for all these things he definitely didn't care about growing up. He's like, let me drag out some nostalgia for the Honey Nut Cheerios for someone.
That's the big part of what they do, is playing on the nostalgia. But it's like, you can only tug on those strings so much before someone starts feeling a little taken advantage of,
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. But anyways, unless if y'all have anything else to add, I think we can transition.
Yeah, I will say, Ronnie Fi, keep doing your thing on the Knicks, man. I personally have been liking the City Edition jerseys, man. You got a thumbs up from me. I saw like a little bit of I think I saw a leak of what the shorts are gonna look like for these City Editions this upcoming season. And I'll just say they look solid, man. And soft spot in my heart because of the blue and orange and blue, but neither here nor there. This is good though. This is good to know, because I will say for myself, I'm not like super incredibly tapped into the streetwear world, but like to think I dibble and dabble. Kith has always been like something that, like, a brand that I've always respected. And like I said, the aesthetic to me is still appealing on certain pieces, but I also think what's going on with them. I think you're, like I said, you're gonna get that in a lot of other. I think the big brands, the brands that we really see push out a lot more pieces, a lot more just releases in general. I know we've been very candid about Fear of God, but recently they collabed with the NBA, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So it is a little bit interesting to see how people within the street world who may have considered these lines or these brands to have quote unquote like sold out or been disappointing. It is interesting to see them step into what you could say like the mainstream pop culture at this point, or just mainstream culture in general, and how successful they've been. So I think you're always going to get that. Like